Alright, we're going to get started with lesson number 4 right now. Now lesson number 4, we're going to go through major bar chords, and we're also going to go through blues rhythm, and we're going to go through some different kind of riffs that you go through, bending. Alright, so let's get started with lesson number 1 with the major bar chords. Alright, now it's going to start with, first of all, the first one is an F major bar chord. Your first finger is going to bar across all 6 strings. This is a 6-string bar. Alright, your second finger is going to go on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Your 4th finger is going to go on the 4th string, 3rd fret. And your 3rd finger is going to go on the 5th string, 3rd fret. Now this is a very, very hard chord, so don't get discouraged if you can't get it down right away. Let's try picking it down one note at a time. Now you notice on the bottom of the page there's a chart that tells you how you can move this chord up the whole neck. So it'll be F in the 1st fret, F sharp, F, G, G sharp, A, and so on, the same exact way you moved up the power chords. So it's F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and so on all the way up the neck. Let's go on to the next bar chord. This is a B flat major bar chord. It's going to start with your first finger barring from the 5th string down in the 1st fret, all the way down with the first finger from the 5th string down. Your 3rd finger is going to bar in the 3rd fret from the 4th string down. Now you notice on this chord chart the 6th and 1st strings are both X'd out, so we're not going to hit either the 6th or 1st. We're just going to strum it from the 4th string down to the 2nd. And it's going to go like this. 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. It's a B flat bar chord. Now as you move this one up the neck, it's the same way as the B flat power chord did. B in a 2nd, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. So it's the same exact way. So now that you have the charts memorized from the power chords, you can use those same charts for these bar chords. So it helps you out a little bit there. Alright, now the next section we're going to go on to is showing you a little bit of the blues. We're going to give you a blues rhythm. So everyone open up to where it says blues rhythm. Let's start with that. Now here we're going to have something happening. We're going to have 2 notes played at the same exact time. When you have 2 notes on top of each other in tablature, you'll hit them both at the same time. The first 2 notes that are on top of each other are the 2nd fret of the 4th string with open 5th string. So let's try hitting those 2 notes together. 4th string, 2nd fret, and open 5th string. Alright, now you see the next thing it says after that is the same thing again. 2nd fret of the 4th string, open 5th. So it's twice in a row. It goes 2, 2. Then it goes out to the 4th fret of the 4th string with the open 5th. Back to the 2nd fret. Up to the 5th fret with your 4th finger, your pinky finger. Still with the open 5th string. Back to the 2nd fret. 4th fret. Back to the 2nd fret. So on the 4th string we're going 2, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2. But we're hitting the open 5th string with it. So watch again. 2, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2. Alright, see how that blues sounds in there? Alright, let's go on to the next measure. The next measure is going to be using the same exact pattern. The only thing different, we're going to be on the 3rd and 4th strings. So we're going to start with the first finger on the 3rd string and open 4th string. Same exact pattern. 2, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2. Right in a row. 2, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2. Alright, going on to the 3rd measure. It's going to be the 5th and 4th strings once again, just like our first measure. Same pattern. Alright, going on to the 6th and 5th string, the next measure goes same pattern, the last 2 strings only. And then back to the 5th and 4th string, same exact pattern again. show you the whole thing right in a row now. Alright, that's the whole entire blues rhythm. Let's work really hard on it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some different things now. We'll go through some more scale work, some more riffs, and then I'm going to have this rhythm played at the end of the lesson, and I'm going to show you how all the scales will sound when you play these scales over it, and also when you play the licks that we're going to go over it. So now we're going to get some cool things down. We'll start playing some leads. Get psyched. We're going to do it. Alright, we're going to go on to the next section, which is the minor pentatonic scales, the 4th and 5th positions. Now the 4th scale position starts on the 12th fret of the 6th string using your first finger. Open your books up and let's get going. Starts on the 6th string of 12th fret, 6th string, first finger. Follow along. Out to the 15th fret with your 4th finger. 12, 15 on the next string. 12, 14. 12, 14 on the 3rd string, 13, 15 on the 2nd string, and on the 1st string it's 12, 15. Backwards it would be 15, 12. One more time, right in a row. Remember to use alternate picking as you're going through this and practice getting it smooth and clean. Alright, really work hard on these things. These are going to be what you're going to use to start playing leads, so get psyched. Let's go on to the last scale position. This one's going to start in the 15th fret using your 2nd finger. Open your books, let's follow through. 15th fret with your 2nd finger. Up to the 17th fret with your 4th finger. On the 4th string we go 14 to 17, 14, 17, 15 to 17, 15 to 17. Backwards. And right in a row. Okay, that's the conclusion of all the minor pentatonic scales in the key of A. So memorize them all. Like I said, we'll be going through different keys and showing you how to play these over rhythms. By the end of this lesson, even we'll go through playing over rhythms. So let's go on to the last part of this. First of all, is going to be learning some riffs and learning how to bend. So let's go through the bending exercise. Starts off on the 5th fret of the 5th string using your first finger. Follow along in the book. 5, 7. Now the 7th fret of the 3rd string there has a B on top of it. Now that stands for bend. Now when you bend a note up, you're never going to bend it up with one finger. Bending means pushing up. That's a bend. Never going to do it with one finger. You always want to use the fingers that are before that finger to help the bend. So in this case, we're going to put the 2nd and 1st fingers both on the 3rd string. So it will look like this, and we're going to bend it up. All right, let me show you how the whole first measure sounds again. All right, going on to the 2nd measure. Starts on the 5th fret of the 3rd string using your first finger. Now we're bending the 8th fret of the 2nd string with your 4th finger. So we're going to put all the other 3 fingers right before that and bend up with all 4 fingers. I'll show you that 2nd measure one more time. Let's go on to the 3rd measure. Starts on the 2nd string, 5th fret. 5, 8, 5, 8, 5, and then 8th fret of the 1st string. Bend up all 4 fingers again. Show that 3rd measure again. Alright, and the last measure we're going to go on to starts on the 8th fret of the 1st string using your 4th finger. 8, 5 on the 2nd, 7. This is the 1st finger bend. That's the only finger the only bend you're going to use one finger with is when you're bending with your 1st finger, because you have no other fingers to help that bend. Show you the last measure one more time. Alright, now I'm going to show you the blues rhythm that we went over earlier on tape with bass and drums, and I'm going to play all the other things over it and show you how it's going to sound with all the scales over it and with the bending exercise also. That's the first scale position. Now the bending exercise. And then experiment and try making up your own riffs. So what you're going to want to do is maybe have one of your friends play the blues rhythm, or if you have a boom box, record that blues rhythm. Try playing all 5 scales over it. Try improvising, making up your own things. Do some bends. Try those bends that we just went through over it. Start improvising, playing some solos. Alright, so we're starting to do it. We're playing some leads now. Let's get going. I'll see you in a while with lesson number 5. Alright, we're going to get started right now with lesson number 5. Lesson number 5 is going to have a lot of cool lead patterns in it. We'll do some hammer-ons, some pull-offs, and a lot of cool things. Let's get going with the first one, which is lead pattern number 1, which is a double pattern. So open your books to where it says lead pattern number 1. Let's get started. Now remember, lead patterns here come right out of scales. So when you're going to play this first lead pattern, think of the first minor pentatonic scale, which started in the 5th fret. Alright, get your hand in position like you're ready to play that, and this lead pattern is going to come right out of it. It's going to start with the 5th fret of the 6th string, and you go 5, 8. Now on the 5th string, normally what we do on the scale would be 5, 7, but we're going to double that. We're going to go 5, 7, 5, 7. On the 4th string, and do the same thing. We double what normally was on the 4th string, 5, 7, 5, 7. Going on to the 3rd string, double normally it was on the 3rd string, 5, 7, 5, 7. Out to the 2nd string, doubling on that, which is 5, 8, 5, 8. And the last string, the 1st string, just 5, 8 once. So reviewing that over one more time, we got 5, 8 on the 6th string, 5, 7, 5, 7 on the 5th, 5, 7, 5, 7 on the 4th, 5, 7, 5, 7 on the 3rd, 5, 8, 5, 8 on the 2nd, and 5, 8 on the 1st. And right after that we go to backwards, which is 8, 5, and then 8, 5, 8, 5. Still doubling. So let me show you the whole lead pattern in a row, starting with the 5th fret of the 6th string. Now once you have this lead pattern memorized, you could transpose it to all 5 scale positions. You could go up to the 8th fret where the 2nd position starts with your 2nd finger, and try the same thing right there. We do the 6th string once, double what goes on the 5th string, double what goes on the 4th string, double the 3rd string, double the 2nd string, and the 1st string only once. Same thing backwards, 8, 5, and then right through in a row now. Next one to the 3rd scale, watch. So once you have the lead patterns down with the 1st scale position, you transpose them to the other scale positions. So remember, the first thing you ought to remember is to memorize it. Memorize that pattern so you don't have to look at the booklet or watch the video to do it, and then it'll be easy to transpose it to the other scale positions. Alright, let's go on to the second part of this lesson, which is going to be a hammer-on and pull-off exercise. And it's going to start on the 4th string, 5th fret, using your 1st finger. Now remember, the H on top of the note stands for hammer down. Watch the first measure there. 5, 7, 5, 7 on the 3rd, 5, hammer 8 on the 2nd string. Now using your 1st and 4th finger there, back to the 3rd string, right in a row. Remember to build speed up gradually as you go through it. Start off really slow and build it. Alright, the second measure is pull-offs. Let's try this. It starts on 7, 5 on the 4th string, except for we'll be pulling it off this time. 7, pull off the 5. And the last part of this lesson here, of this section here, is going to be hammer on and pull off all in a row. Let's go to that now. Hammer on and pull off on the 3rd string. 5, 7, 5. 2nd string. 1st string. So watch. Alright, so once you get through this, try experimenting on your own ways of doing these riffs. Come up with your own ways of hammer-ons and pull-offs. Start being creative. Start creating your own style. Alright, let's go on to the next section. We're going on to some riffs right now. And it's going to start on the 8th fret of the 2nd string using your 1st finger. It's going to be 8, hammer down 10. 1st string 8, 10, 8, hammer on and pull off. A 10 bend, 8 hammer down 10. We'll show you that whole thing. The next one goes up to the 15th fret of the 2nd string with a bend. We'll show you that again. And the last one starts on the 2nd fret of 2nd string, 8th fret with a bend up and down. That little line after the B means bend up and down. Again, pull off the 5, pull off. Alright, so those are some riffs that you can work on to give you some ideas of how to start creating your own ideas. Now, let's go on to the next section, which is a lead pattern that goes down in 3s. It's going to also use the 1st minor pentatonic scale. So let's go to the 5th fret of the 6th string with your 1st finger, and follow me in the book as I go through. Lead pattern number 2. Remember to use alternate picking. Right underneath that, backwards. Alternate picking. row now. Now remember, memorize these patterns and then transpose them to the other scales, just like the other lead pattern. Let me show you how it's going to sound with the second scale. And the third scale. Use it through all 5 scale positions. Build up speed gradually, memorize the pattern, and use alternate picking, things to keep in your mind as you're going through this. Alright, the last part of lesson number 5 is going to be another lead pattern. This is going to be what I call the follow pattern. It goes down in 2s, and it still uses the minor pentatonic scale, first position. But this time we're going to start on the first string. So get your first finger on the 5th fret of the first string, and follow through it in the book as I go through it. 8 on the second, to 5 on the first. And underneath that, backwards. And right in a row now. And again, we can transpose this to the other scale positions. Watch this. Second scale position, starting in the 8th fret of the second string with your second finger. Alright, there we have it. Let's go through all the things we went through on lesson number 5. We went through some cool riffs, we went through some hammer-ons, some pull-offs, some bends, and a lot of lead patterns that you can transpose to all 5 scales. Remember, you can play all these over that blues rhythm that we learned in the last lesson. So, let's get working real hard, and we'll see you in a while with the conclusion of this tape, lesson number 6. Get practicing. Alright, we're going to get started with lesson number 6 right now. We're going to have a little bit of fun in this lesson. I'm going to show you some rhythms and some leads that go along with them. So let's get your books and open up to where it says rock rhythm number 1. We'll get started right now. Now the first chord is going to be an A power chord in the 5th fret. So it's just like that F power chord, but moved up to the 5th fret. Now there's 2 arrows underneath that, means you're going to strum it twice in a row. So let's try that. Alright, then it goes down to F in the 1st fret. Open 6th string, the tablature note. Back to F. And then G in the 3rd fret. Strum it 4 times. Let me show you again how that sounds. Okay, now where it says lead for rhythm 1, let's start trying to read the lead here. Alright, you're going to start with the 7th fret of the 3rd string with your 3rd finger, and we're going to be bending that note up. Pull off. 5, hammer down 7. Bend the 8. 8, hammer down 10. Bend up to 12. Fifteenth fret of the 1st string, bend all 4 fingers. Down to 10 on the 6th string. Almost like a lead pattern there. And then we do a hammer on a pull off on the 5th string 10, 12, 10. Alright, all in a row from the beginning of it. Alright, now I'm going to put the rhythm on and show you how it's going to sound when the lead is played over that rhythm. Improvise over with the scale. Second scale. Second scale position. Third scale position. So now you see how it is when you play the lead over the rhythm, and also you see how it is when you start playing the scales over that rhythm. Now at the end of this tape, the conclusion of it, I'm going to have both of these rhythms played so you could just improvise with all the things we've worked on over the tape over it. Let's go on to rock rhythm number 2. So open your books to where it says rock rhythm 2. Let's get started. Rock rhythm 2 is going to start with an A chord in the 5th fret again. Now we're going to hit each one of these chords 8 times. It says right underneath it, so strum it 8 times right in a row on each one of these chords. A in the 5th fret. On to F in the 1st fret, another power chord, 8 times. C in the 3rd fret. And then G in the 3rd fret. Whole rhythm in a row now. Now let's go through the lead for rock rhythm number 2. So open your book where it says lead for rock rhythm 2, and let's get started with it. Now it starts on the 8th fret of the 1st string using your 4th finger. We're going to pull off to the 5th fret. I'll repeat that 4 times in a row. You see the repeat signs around that measure. 4 times in a row. Bend the 8. There's a hammer on a pull off, so again from the 8, 10, 8. Down to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Now here we have 2 notes together on the 3rd and 4th strings. Alright, all together, let me show you how it sounds now. Alright, now I'm going to put that rhythm on tape and show you how it sounds along with the rhythm. Follow along the book as I play this now. Improvise with the scales now over this. First scale. Fourth scale. Fifth scale. Alright, that's the conclusion of videotape number 1, the beginner tape. I hope everyone had a great time. And you could go on to videotape number 2. It's a continuation of this videotape. And we'll show you some more screaming leads and some lead patterns, some natural minor scales, bidextral hammer-ons, and a whole bunch of wild things. Alright, everyone keep on practicing, working hard at it. Remember, it's not an easy instrument, but put those hours in and you're going to be a great guitar player. Alright, I'm going to leave you off with the 2 rhythms we just went over, and you'll be able to play with them and try everything we've worked on this video over it. Keep on rocking. I'll see you soon. Let's start with lesson number 1 right now. Now before we get going with anything else, I want to go through the tuning of your guitar. I'm going to hit my strings and I want you to tune your guitar to mine as I play through it. You turn the machine heads up or down so you can tune along. If you have electronic tuner, you can tune up with that. And if you really have trouble with tuning, you can always go to your local music store and have one of those guys tune your guitar up for you. They'll be more than happy to do that. Alright, let's start with the 6th string, the fattest string, or the E string. Next, the 5th string, or the A string. The 4th string, or the D string. The 3rd string, or the G string. The 2nd string, or the B string. And the 1st string, or the E string. Alrighty, now that you're in tune with me, we'll start with some playing in lesson number 1. We're going to go through the minor pentatonic scales in the key of A, all 5 positions. Now, lesson number 1 is going to be sort of a review of everything we worked on in tape number 1. So I'm going to go through this fairly quick. Alright, let's start with the minor pentatonic scale that starts in the 5th fret with your 1st finger. Now remember, when you're reading these scale charts, you read them just like chord charts. The only thing different is when you read them 1 note at a time. The first one starts in the 5th fret of the 6th string using your 1st finger. 5-8 on the 6th string. Next string goes 5-7. 4th string 5-7. 3rd string 5-7. 2nd string 5-8. And the 1st string 5-8. Backwards 8-5. 8-5, 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, 8-5. Right in a row. Go on to the 2nd scale position. Starts in the 8th fret with your 2nd finger. Follow along in the book again. Remember to use alternate picking as you're going through this, and always use the tips of your fingers. Let's get rolling with it right now. Go on to the third scale. Starts in the 10th fret using your first finger. The fourth scale starts in the 12th fret using your first finger. And the last scale position starts in the 15th fret using your second finger. That's all 5 scales for the minor pentatonics, and these are all in the key of A. Now later on in this video we're going to show you how to change keys and play all these scales in different keys. So let's get these down, work on them really hard, memorize the patterns if you don't have them down yet. Alright, let's go on to the second part of this lesson, which is going to be the bending exercise. Alright, now on this bending exercise, it's going to start on the first string, 8th fret, using your 4th finger. Now reading the booklet where it says bending exercise and follow along. Now when you bend a note, you put all the fingers that are before that on the same string and push up with it. This is with the 4th finger, so we're putting all 4 fingers on the first string. And then it goes 8, 5 on the first, 8 on the second, 5 on the first. The next bend on the second string, 8th fret, is a bend up and then back down, 5, 7, up, and then back down with a bend. I'll show you right in a row that first measure. Use the tips of your fingers as you go along. One more time. We show how it's going to sound. We put a little distortion on that. Alright, going on to the second measure. Let's go right on to that. Starts on the 10th fret with your 4th finger. Bend it up. Then with the first finger. One more time. Regular speed. Alright, let's go on to the third measure of this exercise. It's going to start up on the 15th fret with your 4th finger. One more time. Alright, now I'll show you all 3 right in a row. Alright, work on these bends, make sure you have them down perfectly before you go on. Let's go on to the next section, which is going to be hammer-on and pull-offs. Now when there's an H on top of a number, you're going to be hammering down that note. You're not going to pick it. And when there's a P on top of a number, you're going to pull off to that number. You're not going to pick that note. Let's go on where it says the hammer-on and pull-off exercise. Starts on the 5th fret of the 4th string using your first finger. See how Now we did that, we hammered down the 7th fret. Next string, 3rd string. Show that first measure again. Right in a row. Build up speed gradually as you go through. Alright, let's go on to the next section of that. It's going to be pull-offs. We're going to start on the 7th fret of the 3rd string using your 3rd finger. One more time, you pull off. Next section, what I want you to do in this next little section, it says 5-8-5, I want you to bar your first finger across the first 2 strings. Watch the way it's going to sound. You're going to pick the 2nd string, 5th fret, hammer down the 8th fret, and then pick the 5th fret of the 1st string with an up pick. Pick down on the 5, hammer the 8, and pick up with the 5 on the 1st string. Down. Alright, the next little measure is going to be doing the opposite thing, but we'll still leave the 1st finger barred. We're going to pull off to the 5th fret on the 1st string. And the last measure of this exercise is going to do a hammer on and pull off together. It's going to be a 1 continuous sweep up. Hammer on and pull off together. Let's try that one. Starts on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. One more time. All the way through all the exercises for the hammer-ons and pull-offs now. Alright, the next section we're going to go on to is going to be lead pattern number 1. And this lead pattern is going to go down in 3s. Now it's going to be using the minor pentatonic scale, the 1st position scale, which started in the 5th fret. Read it in your book as I go through it. And backwards. Show you white in a row now. Remember, this scale comes directly from the minor pentatonic scale in the 1st position. And to build up speed and fluidity, I want you to use alternate picking as you go through it. Watch me show you how it's going to look when you play with the 2nd scale with the same pattern. That was the 2nd minor pentatonic scale that started in the 8th fret. So once you memorize that pattern, transpose it to all 5 scales. We're going to be doing that with all our lead patterns throughout this whole tape. Alright, we're going on to the last section of this videotape. It's going to be the major bar chords. I'm going to show you how to do the bar chords, and the chart moves them up the neck. It's going to start first of all with the F bar chord. Alright, now this F bar chord, you're going to have your 1st finger barred across all 6 strings. So bar your 1st finger in the 1st fret across all 6 strings. Your 2nd finger is going to go on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Your 4th finger or pinky finger is going to go on the 4th string, 3rd fret. And your 3rd finger is going to go on the 5th string, 3rd fret. Let's try playing it with me 1 note at a time now. you see the chart underneath these chords that tells you how to move it up the neck and what the names are going to be. Let me show you what the names are going to be as you move it up the neck right now. F, and then F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and then E. So as you move that chord up the neck, it's going to change names, 12 different names. Now the second major bar chord is going to be a B flat bar chord. It's going to have your first finger barred in the first fret, only 5 strings this time, the first 5 strings, and your third finger is going to bar in the 3rd fret from the 4th string down. Now in this chord, the 6th and the 1st strings are not going to be picked. Only going to pick from the 5th string down to the 2nd. Let's try this one, from the 5th string down, 1 string at a time. 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. That's the B flat bar chord. Now the chart underneath the chords tells you how to move the B flat up the neck also. It's going to go B flat, B in the 2nd fret, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then A is up in the 12th fret. So you have 12 chords to do with that one. Alright, now you learn 24 chords by just knowing those 2 because you have 12 different places to play each one. Alright, this is our review of everything that was on videotape number 1, or the main parts of videotape number 1 anyway. Let's go through this stuff, get it down perfectly, and remember, don't go on until you have everything in lesson number 1 down. Don't go on to lesson number 2. Get everything down perfectly, build up speed gradually, use the alternate picking, keep on rocking. I'll see you in a while with lesson number 2. Alright, we're going to start lesson number 2 off with some more bar chords. We're going to do the minor and 7th bar chords right now. So open your books to the beginning of lesson number 2 where it says minor and 7th bar chords. We're going to start first of all with the F minor bar chord. This is going to start with your first finger barred across all 6, just like the F major that we just did. And we're going to put our 4th finger on the 4th string, 3rd fret, and your 3rd finger on the 5th string, 3rd fret. And we'll strum all 6 strings on this. Let's try it down together, one note at a time. That's the F minor bar chord. Now this is going to go up the neck using the same chart as the F major that we just went through. F minor there. You move it to the 2nd fret. What's it going to be called? It's going to be called F sharp minor. And then G minor. And then G sharp minor. And then A minor, A sharp minor, B minor, C minor, and the same thing all the way up the neck. Alright, the next chord we're going to go on to is going to be the B flat minor. This chord, your first finger is going to bar across all 6 strings. Your second finger is going to go on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. Your 4th finger is going to go on the 3rd string, 3rd fret. And your 3rd finger is going to go on the 4th string, 3rd fret. We're going to hit this down 1 string at a time from the 6th string right down. The B flat minor bar chord. Now as you move that up the neck, it also changes names. There's B flat minor, B minor, C minor, C sharp minor, D minor, D sharp minor, E minor, F minor, and so on all the way up. Now let's go through the last 2 chords here. We're going to go through F 7th and B flat 7th. First of all, the F 7th, you bar all 6 strings. Your second finger goes on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. The 3rd finger goes on the 5th string, 3rd fret, and we're going to add the pinky finger, or your 4th finger, on the 2nd string, 4th fret. Make sure you stretch it all the way out to the 4th fret. Set this one down one note at a time. That's the F 7th. Now as that moves up, it will be F sharp 7th, G 7th, G sharp 7th, A 7th, and so on all the way up. So we're learning a real lot of chords now by just knowing these because they're movable bar chords and they change names as they move up the neck. Let's go on to the last of the bar chords, which is going to be the B flat 7th. Now your first finger is going to bar across all 6 strings on this. Your fourth finger is going to go on the second string, 3rd fret, and your third finger is going to go on the 4th string, 3rd fret. Let's strum this one down from the 5th string down. And again, this one moves up. The 2nd fret, it will be B7, C7, C sharp 7, D7, D sharp 7, E7. So it changes names as it moves up. Let's get all these bar chords down, make sure you know them perfectly, and we'll go right on to the next section, which is going to be an exercise called the killer. Alright, don't get scared. It's going to be a tough one though, so you're going to have to really practice it. It starts on the 10th fret of the 1st string using your 4th finger. Now a trick to getting this exercise down is getting that first measure memorized, because all it does is repeat the same measure down a string each time. Let's try that first measure. On the 1st string it goes 10, 9. Alright, on the 2nd string it goes 8, 7. Then 2nd string 10, 9. And the 1st string 8, 7. So let me show you that first measure in a row. Make sure you use alternate picking as you go through. That's that first measure. Now to get to the second measure, just move it down one string. Starting on the 2nd string, 10, 9, 8, 7, 10, 9, 8, 7. And start on the 3rd string. Start on the 4th string. Start on the 5th string. Now underneath that has the way going backwards. It starts on the 5th string, 7th fret. Again, memorize this first measure and it will be the same thing, just moving up a string this time. Try it with me. Remember, use your fingertips and use alternate picking. One more time at that first measure. 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. Then move it down to the 4th string. 3rd string. 2nd string. And the 1st string. Let me show you the whole thing in a row. And backwards. Remember, build up speed gradually as you go through this. This is going to help get your coordination built up. And it's a pretty cool exercise anyway. Alright, moving on right to the next section. We're going to go through another lead pattern. This is lead pattern number 3. And this is a hammer-on and pull-off lead pattern. Let's try it. Follow the book as I go through it. Remember, this uses the first minor pentatonic scale, the one that starts in the 5th fret. So keep that scale in mind as we're playing this. Hammer on and pull off. And underneath that, backwards of that. Let me show you how that sounds right in a row, forwards and backwards. Alright, now let me show you how it will sound if you transpose that to the 2nd scale position. Starting in the 8th fret with your 2nd finger. Remember we said all our lead patterns we're going to transpose to all 5 scale positions. That's the way you want to work on them. Alright, now I'm going to give you an A minor rhythm that you're going to be able to use to play all the scales, all the lead patterns over, and start creating your own style. Because that's the thing you want to do. Start creating your own style. Be original. That's how you're going to make a mark in the music industry. You don't want to sound like Eddie Van Halen or Yngwie Malmsteen. Even though they're great guitar players, if you sound exactly like them, you're just going to be a clone of them. You want to have your own original style. So keep that in mind as you're playing. Alright, let's try this rhythm. So open up to where it says rock rhythm and let's get started with it. It starts with an A bar chord in the 5th fret. It's an A minor bar chord. And we're going to hit this down 15 times in a row. An open 6th string to F in the 1st fret. 8 times in a row. Then it goes C, G, C, G. Whole thing in a row. Get used to using those bar chords to play rhythms. Alright, so we're starting with A minor, then we're open, F major, and then C, G, C, G. Use those full bar chords. Alright, now I've prepared a rhythm with the bass, the drums, and rhythm guitar on it, playing that rhythm. I'm going to show you how you can start creating different ideas on your own. Here's the first scale position. Second. Third. Now here's some lead patterns. Okay, there you see some ideas you could do with the minor pentatonic scales. Later on in this tape, we're going to go to natural minor scales and give you an introduction to those, which are going to be a more melodic sounding scale. So get creating. I'll see you in a little while with lesson number 3.